This episode of the ResortLoop.com podcast is brought to you by Joffrey's Coffee and Tea Company. Joffrey's is proud to be the official specialty coffee of Disney. Enjoy drinks and pastries at Joffrey's kiosks throughout the parks and check out the Disney Specialty Coffee Collection only at Joffreys.com.
Hi, this is the original Super Looper, Joe Quattrochi, and the Resort Loops sneakers on the ground.
And this is the Resort Loop's very own boots on the ground, Fish Sean Wu. And you know what, Joe?
No, what's going on, Sean?
The Looper Nation is getting ready to listen to the 200th episode.
You mean the bicentennial episode?
Outstanding. Yeah, the bicentennial episode.
Of the ResortLoop.com podcast with Tim and Bob.
Or is it Bob and Tim?
Well, Tim and Bob, on behalf of Looper Nation, I want to thank you guys for 200 great episodes. I personally appreciate your friendship, and I look forward to the next 200 episodes of ResortLoop.com.
I have pretty much the same message, Joe. We've been here since the beginning, had hours and hours of enjoyment. Jiwoo listens to you every single episode. She can't wait to download it, so keep up the good work.
Okay, Sean, tell us how the Looper Nation can reach you.
You can reach me at Fish Sean Wu, that's FISHSEANWOO on Twitter. I go to the parks every once in a while, and I post some really cool pictures and some behind-the-scenes footage. Joe, tell us how the Looper Nation can reach you.
I'm on Twitter at JoeQuat, JoeQuat, and also on Instagram at JoeQuat, JoeQuatt.
Outstanding. Ready, Joe?
Ready, Sean.
Roll 'em.
Jack Wagner, do your thing.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
There's so much in life worth celebrating. Everyone's got something to celebrate. So we invite you to join us as we celebrate today.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. This is a very special episode. I'm Tim Scott.
I'm Bob Collar.
And this is episode 200 of ResortLoop.com. Bob, did you think we'd make it?
Number 200, no. Who knew 2 years
awesome.
ago when you said let's do this that we'd be doing 200 episodes and a spectacularly exciting episode today. Before we get started, though, got to thank Joe Quattrochi and Sean Woosley for that fantastic show open.
They got together on their own and threw that together. We were not a part of that.
Yeah, great listeners, great Super Loopers from the very beginning. And, of course, Joe Quattrochi coining the phrase Super Looper for us. So he's the original Super Looper. So, Tim?
Yes, Bob?
I think we should just start this show.
I think we're going to start the show.
Go ahead.
No, I'm very excited about today's show. Bob, I would love for you to introduce our guests.
All right. Well, we have a limited amount of time with these folks, and if we were to talk about all of the achievements that they've had with Disney and Pixar and all the awards that they've accumulated over the years, we wouldn't have a show. So I'm just going to introduce them, and we'll kind of let them explain everything that all of us Disney Parks fans and Disney fans and Pixar fans would love to know about. We're going to start off with Liz Gazzano. She is Pixar's executive producer of theme parks, and Roger Gould, the Pixar's creative director of theme parks. Guys, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Yeah, our pleasure.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Well, thank you so much. And all the way from Pixar Studios. That, to us, that's huge, we got to say. I know that's a daily thing for you guys, but it's a big deal to us.
Well, thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
We're here in beautiful Emeryville, California, in the Bay Area, across the bay from San Francisco.
We finally had some rain today, you'll be pleased to know.
It's snowing here in Ohio again, at least by me. Again.
Yeah.
And sticking to the ground.
It's been a little rough for us. But anyway, let's start the show, guys. Can you guys explain, for all of Looper Nation that's listening right now, what exactly is the Pixar Theme Parks group, and kind of how did that get started?
Well, the Pixar Theme Parks group developed out of a small group that we had going about 10 years ago that was set up to do everything that was animated outside of a movie. And Roger and I were working in that group, and we just started getting more and more and more theme parks work. Lots of different Pixar parks things. And so Roger went over to John Lasseter and said, hey, we'd like this to be a real group, and we'd like it to be real. And so we took it from there. And
Imagineering just started calling up with requests. They're like, oh, well, we're making the Buzz Lightyear Astro Blaster, and we need a little bit of Buzz animation. And we're like, okay, yeah, we could do that. And they calling and say, oh, we need a little bit of graphics. We're building a Bugs Land in Disney California Adventure. And so we were helping out with that. And then actually the project that really sort of created the group was the Turtle Talk show originally at the Seas Pavilion in Florida, because we got this call, oh, we have this idea for this living character show with Crush, and it's going to be this 12-minute show and immediately was like, whoa, that sounds interesting, but boy, Crush is in the movie Finding Nemo for just, minute and a half, really. Who is he? To do a 12-minute show, we're going to have to, it's not a matter of giving a piece of animation or some design, it's really expanding the world of the story to understand who this character is. And then immediately on the heels of the success of that, 3 big projects were greenlit. The Seas Pavilion Nemo and Friends attraction that joined Turtle Talk in that same space, the Finding Nemo submarine voyage, the rebranding of the original submarine voyage in California's Disneyland, and the Monsters, Inc. Laugh Floor at Magic Kingdom in Florida. And so that was definitely, as Liz said, a full-time job.
Yeah,
and John Lasseter is such a huge fan of the parks that he was all for it, and he absolutely loves working with Imagineering. I said, yeah, let's have a group dedicated to doing that.
Yeah, so we collaborate directly with the Imagineering people, and they are just great. We get calls every day for all different sorts of things, large and small. We work on everything as small as the side of a cup inside of one of the shops inside of Cars Land to something as large as Cars Land, and we just really run the gamut, and we juggle about between 12 and 18 projects every day here.
Oh wow!
So it's fun. It's really exciting. Yeah.
What's great is that basically as soon as Imagineering has a concept, something that involves one of our stories or characters, they'll call us up and say, hey, we're thinking about, and then we end up getting involved with them and partnering with them from that initial concept all the way to opening day. And so Liz says that could be, creating the meet and greet characters for the next Pixar film, or it could be creating Cars Land, which was a 6-year endeavor.
Right. And so what we do is as soon as we get that phone call from Imagineering, we say, why don't you guys come up and meet with the filmmakers, and let's just start to talk about what this world will be, how we're going to extend this world, how we're going to be true to the world, how we're going to be true to the characters. As Roger said, with Crush, for instance, we had to kind of flesh out that character and have the lead animators, meet with everybody and say, well, this is probably what Crush would do in this situation. And
in fact, because as you may know, Andrew Stanton, the director of the film, was the voice of Crush, which, whenever we're making a film here, we call it scratch voices. Different people work in the studio, record the different characters when we're putting together our story reels, but then we cast, real actors. And that was the case with Crush. Andrew had been the temporary voice, the scratch voice for Crush. And then the actor he was hoping to cast passed on it. And so when we typically have just one audience preview for every film, and they did the audience preview for Finding Nemo, and the audience just adored Crush. And John Lasseter said, well, Andrew, now you're Crush, because it played so great. So when we had to expand the world for Turtle Talk, the first thing we did is I sat down and did an on-camera improv interview with Andrew as Crush. And I just asked him lots of questions. And how many kids do you have? And how long have you been married? And what's it like to be a dad? And, how did you become such a great surfer? We're just making it up. And a lot of that ended up becoming kind of the expanded Bible for who Crush is. So, that's one of the things John Lasseter talks about, is that if we make our movies well, then when the audience watches the films, when the movie ends, they don't think that the world ends or the characters ends. They know that those characters' lives extend beyond the boundaries of the film. Their lives keep going. Mike and Sully are still out there in Monstropolis. Woody and Buzz are still hanging out in the bedroom. And so that's what we get to do in the parks. We get to actually expand the stories beyond the boundaries of the film. And then we get to actually build them physically and get to walk inside our stories, which is just, it never ceases to be incredible and just thrilling.
And it's funny because we keep them alive for the guests. We build it all for the guests, and they don't even think twice. They're like, yeah, that of course, this is where Crush lives, or this is where Cars Land is, or they just think it's perfectly natural for the world to keep moving on, and it doesn't stop for them after the movie.
Right. Now, I know I had the luxury a couple of years ago to visit Cars Land, probably about 6 months or so after it had opened. And it is truly incredible how you feel like you are in Radiator Springs. It is amazing how you guys put that all together. Can you kind of explain how Cars Land all came to be and all that?
Sure. Well, thanks for saying that. I mean, that's really the thrill of it. And Liz and I haven't been there since yesterday.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, I think it's certainly the most extraordinary and complicated project we've ever worked on, and it's so gratifying that people really, really have embraced it. And the best comments were from the little kids when we literally just first opened, and this little boy saw Mater. We have Mater and McQueen come out in the land and drive around Radiator Springs. And Mater turned the corner, and this little boy said, "It is real." I was like, you could see he'd been struggling with it. I think I'm there, but that's freaky, right? But once Mater's like, okay, I give up. It is real. But it was so fantastic because the film, of course, is a three-dimensional world, and so we started with the three-dimensional models of the town, of the mountain range, and then that's where really the collaboration with Imagineering comes into play, because it's not literally just printing that sort of giant size. There's a tremendous amount of adjustment and coordination, force perspective that you have to do to squeeze that into 12 acres.
Yeah, absolutely. And we worked directly with the Imagineers. And we did provide them with our files, and we all looked at it. We put them in, in kind of a VR kind of space, and then they took that and expanded on it. And we even actually had them work with the folks from the designers from Cars 2 in extending Flo's restaurant, so that was a little bit larger. And we had a good iteration between the new film, Cars 2, and with Cars Land, because we were building it at the same time that Cars 2 was being produced. So it was a very good hand-in-hand between the filmmakers and Imagineering and our team, and we all just sort of worked together on it.
Yeah, Bill Cohn, who designed Ornament Valley, was the production designer on the first Cars movie, worked literally side by side with Joel Hermé, who's the master rockwork sculptor and designer at Imagineering, to design the mountain range, which, even having been involved with it from day one, I'm still blown away by it. I can't believe how incredible it is. It's such an amazing piece of art. And you just believe it. It's so compelling. And so it was so fun, going, Bill lived the movie and was able to say, well, this is why it looks this way, and really provide that. And then Jolt really has this incredible mastery of how you make rock, artificial rock look authentic. Yeah. And so the two of them working together was just fantastic. And likewise, go ahead.
Sorry, what were you going to say? I missed you.
I was just going to say, and then Bob Pauly, who was the lead character designer on Cars, worked with us to design all the race cars and Radiator Springs Racers.
Right, all the ride vehicles. And so we worked really hard, again, with Imagineering, with their sculpting team. And Bob designed it with Jay Schuster and with Jerome Rampt, our sculptor here, and Andrew Schmidt, one of our modelers, and we all worked to get those vehicles designed specifically for that land, so that they would live in that world and actually be characters in that world. So when you're sitting in that car, you are a character from that world.
Yeah, and that's what's so great. Then all of that goes down to Imagineering, to the model shop, which is still one of the most, magic places at Imagineering. So that car then gets built life size, and then we review that sculpt, working with them. And then, of course, it becomes fiberglass and an incredibly complicated machine.
And then working with Chip Foose from his TV, famous Chip Foose, coming over and doing paint colors for us was really amazing, too. And that was really cool because he developed Ramon's hoods that are inside of the ride itself, and also in Ramon's shop in Cars Land itself. So it's really fun to have all those kind of carification of everything there, and make it so real and so genuine for the guests.
And John, when we were early on Cars Land, the film team, John is a huge believer in research. And so on every film, he always, John insists that every film team goes on site. It's not enough to imagine, what a coral reef looks like. You have to go there. It's not enough to imagine the restaurants of Paris or the sewers of Paris. You have to go there. And, on the first Toy Story, of course, that was just a field trip to Toys R Us. But since then, the field trips have gotten more interesting. And on Cars, it was, basically a long road trip along Route 66. And the film team had done that a few times as part of their research. And so when we started working on Cars Land, he told us that we in the Imagineers had to go on that field trip. It was not enough to watch the movie and try and reverse engineer it. We had to go and see it ourselves. And it was an incredibly powerful thing, because I think what we learned wasn't just about the sense of light and material, although that was really, really valuable, but it was also really about the personality of Route 66, which are a lot of incredibly dedicated people who are incredibly proud to still be there and proud of that heritage. And that pride is something that we actually tried to build into Cars Land. And I think somehow we've managed to capture that, because you get that sense from the cast members and even from the guests who come. There's that sense that this is really a legitimate place with a beating heart.
Yeah, well, what we could do that the film couldn't do in Cars Land was we were able to do food. And so we went to all the really cool little places you can go have food along Route 66. And for instance, at Flo's, you can get 3 different types of pie. And yesterday morning when Roger and I were there for breakfast, I went in and I said, so what are your 3 special seasonal pies today? Because they change it all the time at Flo's.
Oh, wow.
And they said, well, it's winter, so we have apple and we have coconut cream and we've got chocolate mud pie. But in the spring and the summer, they'll be different. So they do change it, which is kind of fun. And then, we've got also a whole little area in the cone area, Sally's cone area, where you can get all things that are made of cones. So ice cream cones and cone concoctions and all different. There's a yummy little savory treat. You can get chili inside of a cone, like a tortilla cone.
Chili con queso.
Yes, chili con queso. Thank you, Roger. But that was really fun to sort of expanding the world. What would happen on Route 66 if you happen to be a car with the soul of a car? And we even found new mountain ranges that weren't reflected in the movie Cars that we ended up reflecting, for instance, in our load-in and the e-ticket ride. So it's really, it was well worth going and doing that research, because we brought just even more immersion to that world.
Yeah, so if you've been there, you know that in the queue area for Radiator Springs Racers, the big e-ticket, you go through the original settlement of Radiator Springs, which we call Stanley's Oasis.
Right.
And the backstory is Stanley, the founder of the town, was driving across the desert and his radiator was running dry, and he magically came across this spring, this bubbling spring of water out in the desert, and he named it the Radiator Spring and ended up creating this township there. And so when we were on our Route 66 field trip, we saw, a lot of basically relics, these ruins of abandoned old towns along Route 66. We thought, well, what was the origin of Radiator Springs? There must have been the original structures before they built the courthouse and Main Street. And so we created that. We designed that world. And John got so excited about it that he ended up making a animated short, Time Travel Mater, where Mater goes back in time and meets Stanley and helps make sure that Stanley does found the town of Radiator Springs. Right. Yeah, I got to see that when I was there, and I think it meant a lot to me, because my family, in getting to California to go to Disneyland and California Adventure, was we did some traveling on Route 66 and actually stopped. Yeah, it was so cool. And stopping at the Rock Cafe, where the animation team had stopped, and there was all kinds of drawings and signatures and autographs all over the inside Rock Cafe. Oh, that's so great.
So you're exactly right. If you've ever traveled parts of Route 66, you guys have captured it just stunningly there. Now, you then transferred some of Cars Land to Walt Disney World with the Art of Animation.
Yes,
Resort.
True.
Yeah, that was really fun. I mean, that's the kooky great part of working with Imagineering, is that you kind of never know how the films are going to get translated. So there was this proposal to make a hotel, and it was like, oh, well, Cars is the only movie we ever made that actually has a hotel in it. It's got the Cozy Cone. So that was a clear inspiration. We said, okay, well, you should feel as much as we can as a human being, feel like you are staying in the Cozy Cone. So, cone patterned wallpaper and cone patterned curtains and cone patterned, carpeting and a cone headboard and the cone shaped lamps, and it's cone-tastic.
The best part of that, though, I gotta say, is because we actually stayed in the Little Mermaid area the last time we were down there, but we swam a lot over at the Cars area, and the cones that you could sit in.
Yes, the Combanas.
Combanas.
Oh yeah, those are so cool.
Those are awesome.
Yeah,
that was brilliant.
And that's what was so fun is that we had the rooms to decorate and put you in the story, but we had that whole huge courtyard that you've been to where we did 11 full-size Cars character figures. We got to build the entrance to the Wheelwell Motel, which we saw in the film, but we didn't get to build for Cars Land, but we did build it for the Art of Animation Resort there in Florida and put Sally and McQueen are parked right in front waiting for you to come on up. So it's pretty nutty, and that's what's so great. I mean, like Cars Land was really the brainchild of two incredible Imagineers we love working with, Robert Coltrane and Kevin Rafferty, who originally started developing the idea before the movie Cars, are really concurrent with it before they'd actually seen any of it. And so they were developing an idea they were calling Carland, which was like Main Street in Disneyland is a reflection of, Marceline turn of the century. They thought, well, what if we made a sort of 1950s Main Street, that was all about the big fin automobiles and color television and that kind of modern world coming in. And then they came up for a pitch from John where he pitched the entire Cars movie before it was on story reels even. And they went away just totally enraptured. I thought, oh, we've got to incorporate that into Carland. And so they first incorporated, basically the backdrop was Ornament Valley with a little bit of Cars in it. And then as the movie progressed, and then when it released and was such a huge hit, it was clear, like, this shouldn't be a little bit of the human 1950 Street and a little bit of Cars Land. We got to go all in. This should all be Radiator Springs. And it was a very bold decision because it was the first time that Imagineering had ever built a single story immersive land. And man, oh man, it worked out well.
It was great, but they went in hook, line, and sinker. I mean, it was great. Everybody was so collaborative and dedicated to making it exactly like the movie, and even expanding on that. So that was super fun.
Well, it was absolutely worth the effort. You guys, it is spectacular. Now, you guys just finished up the Ratatouille ride in Disneyland Paris.
Yes.
How did that go?
That went great. That one is that was a really fun job. You're made to feel the size of a rat. You're riding in a giant rat vehicle that is a non-linear program. And Tom Fitzgerald was an amazing creative director that kind of dreamed up the whole thing, and then we hopped on board and worked out the story with him early on.
Yeah, it's interesting. That project really was born in the same spirit as Cars Land, which was, can we create a completely immersive single story land? It's much, much smaller than Cars Land, but it still has that same gesture. You walk in and you are in Remy's Paris.
Right.
We from the beginning, we knew we were doing something pretty nutty, which was kind of like building New Orleans Square outside of New Orleans. We were going to build a little piece of Paris outside the city of Paris.
So that was scary. But the good part was we knew that the French loved this film.
Oh my gosh.
They considered it a love letter to France and a love letter to Paris. So at least we had that going for us. But it was pretty crazy. But we brought in Harley Jessup, who is the production designer on the film, and Brad Bird was consistently checking in, and we had Sharon Callahan, the lead director of photography, helping us out.
So yeah, it was great because basically
great.
We knew we had to create Remy's Paris, a caricatured version of it, so that we weren't kind of just missing the boat of like, oh, that's not what it really looks like. We knew that. We were trying to really bring people into the wonderful, exaggerated, caricatured world of it. And I think it's been really successful that way. And that was, what was really fun is that, when we said, well, we're going to have stone pavers, because that would be like in Paris. Here in the States, we'd probably start talking about, well, what kind of material should we use? Is that a concrete or whatever? And they're like, oh, well, we'll hire the people who do stone pavers in Paris. They'll come out here and they'll do it. Like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. But when we designed the Remy's Paris, we call it Place de Remy, we wanted to basically put in a lot of, instead of hidden Mickeys, hidden Remys, so that from the wide shot, as you're entering the land, it feels like you're in this wonderful moment of Paris. But as you go up to the beautiful fountain, for example, that looks like this classic Parisian fountain, when you get close, you see that instead of little spitting, lion heads spitting water, they're little rat heads. And there's Remy at the very top of the fountain, holding on to, of course, a spoon. And the water shooting out of bronze champagne bottles. And even the manhole cover is one of my favorite parts of the entire land. If you look at the manhole cover, you see it's a beautiful, classically rendered image of the moment of Remy riding the cookbook through the sewer with that spatula he's using as his oar, with a bit of it shot off from the woman in the countryside who shot at him. So we just wanted to put in a lot of winks to the guests to say, you're in a fantasy. And as Liz said, when you go into the attraction, you shrink to the size of a rat, and you get to go through the kind of the crazy adventure that Remy went through in the film.
When you're getting ready to do a ride, how many versions of that do you go through before you finally get to where you want? Because I'm sure as you're going through, you're going, oh, let's add this, let's add that.
Yeah.
I mean, we go through, with Ratatouille, for instance, I mean, I think our story process was about a year. And we would bring our story artist down to WDI, and then their story artist, led by Tom Fitz, would come up here and work with us. So we'd see each other every couple weeks, I think, and check in person as a big group just for story. And we just spent a lot of time just batting things back and forth and putting it up on reels, putting it on storyboards, and just seeing how it flowed and imagining, within that ride context, how that's going to work. And something that Roger reminds us of a lot is that we learned this from Tom Fitz as well, is that a story for an attraction is a lot simpler than a story in a movie, because you're riding something, you've got your senses are all being, used up by 3D glasses and writing and moving, and sometimes 4D effects by getting sprayed with water. And so as a guest, you just can't, concentrate as you would watching a film. And so you have to keep it pretty simple, but then there does have to be a story. So it's a challenge and Roger, maybe you can speak a little bit more about that.
No, that's exactly right. And that's the fun of it, right? It's really more about the physical immersive experience. Mm-hmm. And so, I credit Tom Fitzgerald with teaching me that, but he credits Marty Sklar. So that's fine. It all goes back to the beginnings of Imagineering, but it's that sense that we need to tell a simple story, but it has to be coherent. It has to make sense, so that when the guests, they may not read the story, they may not be able to tell you afterwards, A, B, C, D, this is what happened. But if we bump it, if it's complicated, they'll feel uncomfortable and they won't know why.
Right.
So, and in fact, Ratatouille began with Tom's idea of it would be fun to be the size of a rat. And there was actually probably about a year and a half of exploration of, could we do the entire thing as giant physical sets and physical animatronics? And so you're talking about iterations. I mean, there was a long time spent, models were built trying to work that out. But what we discovered is that if we built everything out of physical sets and physical animatronics, that the speed with which you would want a giant foot to almost step on you, we just couldn't achieve that mechanically. And so the attraction is a very clever combination of physical sets and immersive, crazy high-res stereo 3D animation that we created, all custom for the attraction. And the blending between the physical sets and the 3D animation is seamless, so that as you're going through, you really aren't aware of where one ends and the next begins, but it allowed us to bring the characters to life kind of at full, cartoon animation speed.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Do you build like a simulator at all, or like CGI animation to see how your ride will go before you build it? Or
yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, that's really,
that's been huge.
That's absolutely. It's incredible. It's a gift that Walt never had. And so you look at things like Pirates, which I still think Anaheim Pirates of the Caribbean is the greatest attraction ever built. And it just staggers me to think they worked that all out without any all the pre-visualization CG tools we have today.
I mean, we use it all the time. I mean, it takes us anywhere between 4 and 7 years to come up with a ride. Cars Land being just 7 years apart, and Ratatouille, I think, was about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, and so you're right.
That whole, I mean, honestly, up till the time we get in on site, we are looking at things in virtual reality.
Yeah, because I mean, when you think about these projects, it's really, a lot of people at Pixar ask us all the time, what's the difference between working on a film project and an Imagineering attraction? And the big difference is that when you're working on a film, you start with story and design, and then at some point you start into animation. And when you get your first shot done, it might just be 2 seconds, but those 2 seconds are the same 2 seconds that will be in the film when the rest of it is finished. So you get this glimpse of what the final is going to look like, a year and a half or 2 years out from the finished movie. With an attraction that begins very much the same way with story and design, But then there's kind of this moment when you go, okay, everybody split. And some people are off literally building a building, and some people are off building a ride vehicle, and some people are off building animation or building animatronic figures or building the show sets. And it's only in the last 4 to 6 months that you all start coming together. Oh, the building's built. Okay, bring in the ride system, bring in the show sets. Come on, everybody, let's put on a show.
It's a lot like theater that way. Everybody's off doing their own thing, and then they get together like, okay, let's go. One other difference, though, with the animation is our films may have 2-second, 4-second shots. We have shots that are more like 35 seconds, 58 seconds. So we have really long shots. So that's really, I think it's fun for our animators, but it's also, really different than working on the movies for them. So we sometimes, get to have great teams here because it's a nice break for them to come over and
well, when you talk about how we bring in the film artists.
Oh yeah, so the way we bring in the artists is we wait for a film to be done, and we wait for there to be a break in the studio when the artists are more available. And so once that happens, we kind of slave our parks and resorts jobs to those dips in the schedule and grab everybody then. And we use the actual animators that work on the films, not just the films from the characters we're doing, but all of our films, because all of our animators tend to work on most of our films. So we do use all the same resources as the movies do. So it's really great.
For the Ratatouille attraction, our lead animator, Andy Schmidt, had been an animator on the movie. And about half of the animators on the show had worked on Ratatouille.
Yep.
And then the other half hadn't. And what was fun is for the animators who'd worked on the movie who came to work on the attraction, it was like getting to spend time with old friends. And for the people who hadn't worked on it was like getting to work with celebrities. Like, oh my God, I'm animating Remy? Come on.
Yeah, it's true.
But we had Chris Laverne, who was the lead animator on all the
Linguini,
the incredible Linguini stuff in the movie, and then he led all of our Linguini work on the attraction. So when Tom Fitzgerald and I said, well, this is what the scene is about, we then said, but Linguini better than we ever will, so bring him to life. And it was so exciting, when you're working with such incredibly talented people.
Yeah, they're allowed to bring a lot to the party, which I think is fun for them, the animators and the lighters, and it's exciting to work in a real set. I mean, where you're bringing the animation to a real practical set in a lot of ways. What's
that feel like after working on an animated film and then walking onto that film in a ride or an attraction?
It's the best. I mean, come on, that's what it's about. We build this virtual stuff, and it's funny because if you were to be here at Pixar and hear people talking about the movies, you will notice that people don't we're not constantly saying, fake or virtual, right? We're talking about the set in, Monsters University. We don't keep saying the virtual set. Of course, that's what it is. But you say, oh, here's the quad and there's the dorm and, oh, where's the scare school? We talk about it like a real place, but we can only ever see it behind the glass of our computer screen or up on a movie screen. So to actually build these places, be able to walk down Main Street to Radiator Springs, or be able to actually, in Tokyo, we built a Monsters attraction where we called Monsters Ride and Go Seek, and we built a factory. And you get to walk into that lobby that you saw in the movie, and there's Celia's desk, and you look up at the ceiling, and there's that incredible tile mural ceiling there, and you're there. And then in that attraction, you actually are with Mike and Sully and Boo, and the guests can't walk into it, but we built Boo's bedroom. And when we were still under construction, so we were just in hard hats walking around, I walked into Boo's bedroom, and it was just thrilling. I mean, it was crazy to be in her bedroom. It just...
And Roz snarks at you at the end, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's really funny. There's a great animatronic, or a couple of great animatronics of Roz in there.
So yeah, that is really the joy of this. And what you'll find is not just John Lasseter and us, but pretty much anyone who works in animation is a fan of the Disney parks. And so everyone here is so thrilled to see their work translated. When we had a huge opening event for Cars Land where we invited the whole company down, and I was standing right in front at, we'll call it Four Corners, where you have Luigi's and Ramon's and Lizzie's and Flo's at that intersection. And Jeremy Lasky, who was the that's the camera lead designer on the movie, was standing there, and he said to me, I made this shot, and now I'm standing in the shot.
Wow.
And it's a thrill for all of us.
That is awesome. I know just as a fan, Cars is one of my favorite movies that you guys have put out, and to walk onto that like I said, walking onto Radiator Springs or into Radiator Springs, it's just it's an unbelievable feeling, and it's hard to explain. It's just very difficult to explain.
It's fun because, when we first started working with Imagineering, one of the things that people would remind us about a lot is, unlike film, there are no cuts. So you're always in a wide shot. You have to remember that. Mm-hmm. And actually what we've kind of evolved over the last, 6-7 years is like, okay, that's true, there are no cuts. But what's really fun is to be in the close-up.
Right.
To be there eye to eye with the characters. And so when you're in the Remy's adventure in Paris, you're the size of a rat, and Remy is looking at you. You are a rat. You're an honorary rat, part of his experience. And when you're in Toy Story Mania, if you've ever been on that attraction, you're playing with the toys. And again, we shrink you down to the size of a toy, and you're an honorary toy. And Woody's looking you straight in the eye, saying, hey, howdy, hey, welcome. And in Cars Land, when you go on Radiator Springs Racers, you're a car. There's a lot of honorary because we've got a lot of movies that aren't human.
A lot of honorary.
But you get to be a character in the story, because back in Walt's day, they didn't have the technology to know where your ride vehicle would be precisely at every moment. So in Pirates, which is brilliant, but you're basically a ghost. You're traveling through this world that's happening around you. But we can now know where you're going to be. So in Racers, Sheriff rolls right out and says, whoa, slow down, you're not racing yet. And he's talking directly to you. And that's really the exciting thing that we can do now that we could never do before, which is really put you directly in the story as a character.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I know one of my favorite attractions, and it had to have been one of your first Pixar attractions, is Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin.
Yeah.
Ah, yes.
It seems to me like it's almost like a Pixar short. You take a character and you give him his own story.
Yeah.
You don't have the other characters from actually Toy Story in there with him. I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, well, that's the fun thing about that property in particular, is that the Toy Story world there are so many different, ways you can slice of the world. There's, of course, Andy's view of the world. Okay, we're in Andy's bedroom. And that's kind of what we did with Toy Story Mania. We said, okay, Andy's away and the toys are under Andy's bed and they set up these games and we're here to play with them. But Buzz Lightyear has his own storyline of Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger. And so that Astro Blaster gets to play with that storyline. And of course, Woody has Woody's Roundup and his whole storyline. And so it's fun to get to delve into the different worlds of the character stories.
And the queue for Toy Story Mania is incredible walking through there. So I had that game. I had those Tinker Toys.
Oh, yeah, out in the
Florida one, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's so fun. And back in 2012, we opened Toy Story Mania at Tokyo Disney Sea.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so fun. Of course, we have 5 resorts around the world, and we're building a 6th one in Shanghai, China right now, the first mainland China Disneyland park. And it's just really amazing to see that Walt's vision of a theme park is something that connects with people all around the world.
Yes, it does. Yeah, absolutely. I got to ask this question. This is like asking which one is your favorite child, but what would be your favorite project so far?
Man, that is really hard.
I mean, Cars Land is certainly the sort of the crown jewel of everything we've done. I mean, it kind of brought together everything that we'd learned up to then, and then delivered it at a scale, kind of an epic scale. So I think that's a crowning glory. I don't know when we're going to top that, but
Ratatouille was great too, and
yeah.
And then we've got a few Toy Story lands out there, which have been amazing.
In Hong Kong
also.
and in Paris. I mean, what's really fun is that every project is sort of prototypical. The films, of course, every story is different, but a film as a construction, it's basically going to be about an hour and a half. It's basically going to be between 1,500 and 1,800 shots. They're going to be characters and sets. So in an abstract sense, they're very similar. That's just not true in an attraction. One attraction
everything is different.
Will be, this one's physical animatronics. Oh, this one's projected animation. Oh, this one is, a flume ride. Oh, this one's a coaster. Or
this one's a hotel.
Yeah, yeah. Or this is a parade.
Yeah, it's all different.
Or we've done things on the cruise ships, and so
sometimes it's a theater show.
Yeah, so it's really, really fun. Just the variety of the ways that the characters and stories get brought to life. Crush is a living character at Turtle Talk, but if you go to Disneyland Paris, you can ride Crush's coaster, which is riding the EAC with Crush, and it's like a Space Mountain indoor roller coaster.
Right, yeah, and I actually I went on a cruise last year, and got to talk to Crush throughout my dinner.
Good, yes.
So
right, so there we created an hour-long dinner show called Undersea Magic with Crush and the entire undersea cast of Finding Nemo surrounding you on over 100 screens that wrap around this restaurant. And that was the craziest geography problem ever to make that all work. But it was really exciting to go ahead and say, can we serve you dinner and keep you entertained, but make sure the kids get to eat,
And make sure you can still talk and not be bowled over completely, but still pay attention to the show sometimes.
Yeah, and then end by getting everybody up out of their chair and Crush teaching them to surf.
Right.
Right, yeah, and you did it. It worked because it was wonderful.
I'm glad you saw that.
Yeah, it was great. I've got a question for Liz.
Okay.
I read an article. Actually, Tim and I both read the same article on you where you talked about magic circles.
Oh my God, what was that article? That is hilarious. Yes, magic circles. So do you guys know what those are, right?
We do, yeah, but I'm not sure our listeners do.
You want me to tell your listeners?
Absolutely.
Well, this is something that we learned about on Turtle Talk, and apparently a magic circle, which I love that terminology. So for Turtle Talk, you've got a lot of little kids sitting down in the front row that are dying to talk to Crush in person, and that is Crush for them. That is really Crush, and they get really, really excited. And sometimes when little kids get excited, sometimes they pee, or pee usually. And so the magic circle, like, they don't have time to clean out the carpet between shows, so they just run in there with little carpet squares and put it over the.
Or at least do the carpet circle.
Carpet circle. Sorry, not square. Carpet circles, and put it right over there, and then the show goes on.
And that's a magic circle.
That's a magic circle for you. But the show must go on is the real thing.
When we were playtesting Crush, we thought we were making something nice, but it was really amazing when the first guests came in, and the little kids they just take it for granted. Sure, I'm talking with Crush. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And what was really fun is watching the parents, because they would see, Crush loves to give nicknames. So, you ask you what your name is, Bob. Oh, the Bobster. Oh, Bodacious Bob. And then, you see the adults in the back going, they had Bob. Well, Bob, that's a common name. Sure, that makes sense. And then Crush keeps talking and things are happening, and you see the adults going, wait a second, this is live. Crush, this animated character, and I know animation is this painstaking process. It takes years, so it can't be live, and yet Crush is talking to me live right now. And it was so fun to see their brains kind of explode. But for the kids, it was just natural. But when someone explained to us the magic circle, we were just so excited. I wonder if we're going to get one. And after one of our play tests, the kids all left, and someone said, there it is. Circle. And it was just a thrilling moment. It really
success. It was we knew then we had a successful show.
That is awesome.
Oh
my gosh. I know, like the whole turtle talk with Crush thing. I don't understand it. I don't want to understand it. But the last time I was in there, Crush saw a kid holding a Buzz Lightyear and ducked behind some coral and brought out a Buzz Lightyear of his own.
Yeah, some kid must have dropped that in the ocean, but I think Crush found it.
There you go.
What was so fun is we have Turtle Talk in Florida and California. We brought that to Japan as well, where just a huge hit. And what was really funny is we were doing our first shows in Tokyo. One of the very common questions that kids ask Crush is, what do you like to eat? And Crush will say, I eat green kelp, and that's why I'm a green sea turtle. That's why my shell turns green. And and he'll ask the kids, what do you like? And I'm like, pizza or ice cream. And there we were in Tokyo, and it's all in Japanese, of course. And a kid asked Crush, what do you like to eat? And he's like, I like to eat the green sea kelp, but that's why my shell is green. What do you like to eat? And the little boy, of course, said, sea kelp. I love sea kelp. But of course, Japanese kids eat seaweed every day.
All the time, yeah.
And it just had never occurred to me. So I just burst out laughing. I'm like, oh, right, that's not funny. That's actually something you have in common.
That is awesome.
Let me ask. We have a lot of kids that listen to the show.
Hi, kids.
Hi.
Hi. Do you guys have kids or nieces or nephews that know where you work and they're just really excited, or they just like Aunt Liz and Uncle Roger just go to work?
I have a 9.5-year-old boy, and he is always looking to come to the parks with me. He's like, I couldn't even tell him I was going to the park this weekend. We were there for a work thing. I'm like, telling my husband, don't tell Keaton we're going to the park. Because he'll just be mad at me for not taking him.
Now he can't listen to this podcast.
Now he can't listen to this podcast. Sorry, Keaton. Anyway, but yeah, I mean, it's really fun, and you know, Roger, you've got
I've got two kids. They're teenagers now, but it's just the greatest thing to bring to the park. I mean, in the end, the most important audience for me is, of course, my own family.
Yeah.
And so taking them on the projects we've done and seeing their reactions and their smiles, that's the greatest
It's the
gift.
best, yeah. And they get so proud. They get really excited.
Yeah. Well, but some years ago, my son was grumbling one night about some homework he had to do. And I said, well, you know, that's his life. You know, sometimes you have things you have to do that you don't really enjoy, but it's just something you do. And he said, do you have to work on things that you don't enjoy? I said, I'm a bad example. Okay.
That's a good one.
But in general, so I mean, we're so lucky. It's just been an incredible job to be able to build things that bring so much joy and fun to people, and that, you know, are so joyous and fun to work on. And the Imagineers are just so passionate and fundamentally just such great collaborators, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
No project gets built by one person. They're always a team effort, and it's been thrilling to be part of that team.
Well, on a personal note, I have to thank you, Roger. My wife, her favorite Pixar short is Boundin'.
Oh, yeah.
And my daughter's favorite is actually Mike's New Car.
Oh my
wow.
gosh, that's so great.
So thank you for those. And we've got, about 680 more questions, Tim, before we wrap this up?
We can always do part 2 on your, 300 show.
Oh,
hey, we would love that, absolutely. I'm going to ask the final question, and then you guys are going to deflect the final question, and then that'll be it. What can Disney Parks fans expect next from Pixar in the Disney parks?
I don't know there's too much we can say, but there is an announced project for Shanghai we can mention.
Yes, we have a Toy Story hotel in Shanghai.
Yeah, so like the Cars and Nemo hotel that you saw in Florida, we're building a phenomenal 8-story Toy Story themed hotel as part of the Shanghai resort.
It's really cool. It's actually going to be really beautiful and fun.
And yes, there are many things going on that we cannot tell you about, but the Shanghai resort, it's safe to say that that their Pixar films will be well represented. And the great thing is that this is a very, very exciting time for Imagineering. There are incredible projects going on all around the world. Mm-hmm. And that makes us very, very happy. And I'm always telling our filmmakers here, just keep making great movies that people want to walk into, because once they do, then we get to build them.
Absolutely. You guys are doing a fantastic job. Tim has actually coined a phrase for what's going on at Disney right now.
What is that?
Oh, it's the Disney Renaissance.
Wow. High praise indeed.
That is high praise.
Yeah.
There is a lot going on, though.
It is.
There really is.
It's very exciting, and I think you see it, and leadership matters, and Bob Iger and Tom Staggs and John Lasseter, are all people with incredible passion to create great experiences for the guests, and that's what we all want to do. And you guys probably know the history pretty well, and that somehow has not always been the top priority for the company. Mm-hmm. And so it's really exciting to be at a moment in time when everybody challenges all of us to do our best and says, "That's great. Now, how do we make it even better?"
That's amazing.
It has to be incredible.
Yeah, and we as Disney Parks fans and Pixar movie fans and Disney movie fans, we're just reaping the benefits of that. You guys are doing such a wonderful job, and we just know that we truly appreciate all the work that you guys put into it, because it's not necessarily always about the money and what the big box office is, or the tickets going into the place. We truly love what you guys are doing. So thank you so very much for that.
That's so lovely.
Well, and thanks for being there and going to these things.
Yeah,
that's who we do it for.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was on the opening morning of Cars Land, which was a crazy exciting day to be there. The crowds, literally, people camped overnight in the Esplanade outside the gate. Disney organized a giant, sleeping bag queue for people who wanted to spend the night there. And so that morning, people flooded in, and it was just incredible to see the crowds. And I was at Flo's V8 Cafe, just getting something to drink. I wasn't wearing any insignia. There was nothing that, identified me as having anything to do with it. And this woman walking the other way just was so excited. She had to talk to someone. And she just randomly turns to me and said, I live nearby, and I've been coming here for the last 3 years, standing on this other side of the construction fence, peering over dreaming of this day, hoping that it would be great. And when I walked in this morning, I cried because it was even better than I had imagined. And it blew me away because we always talk about trying to do our best so that we can be proud of the work. But what she reminded me is that our guests, they don't see the parks as some, product that they encounter. It's theirs, right? Who love the Disney parks, it's their park.
Yes.
And so for her, she was proud of it. We had done her proud. And I think that's really something important for us always to remember is that we have to do right so that our guests can be proud of that their passion, and perhaps even sometimes, their crazy passion is rewarded and justified. Look, I'm not crazy. Have you seen Cars Land? Of course I love it that much.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
That's who we do it for.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. Tim, I think that's all I have for Roger and Liz.
Thanks for joining us very much, guys. It's been fantastic and a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, you too. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We'd love to have you on again sometime.
Yeah, well, congratulations
Sounds
on
good.
episode 200. Thanks for making us part of it.
Yeah.
Thank you for making it so special. Thank you so much. Roger Gould and Liz Gazzano of the Disney Parks, the Parks Theme Parks Group. Pixar. Jeez, I can't even say
we're
it.
still working on it too. The Theme Parks Group at Pixar Animation Studios.
There you go.
Thanks, you guys.
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Thanks so much.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Wow, that was a great interview with Roger Gould and Liz Gazzano. That Tim, I don't know what to say.
I don't think we can follow that up with much, but I think we have some stuff.
What?
We do.
No, that's all I got.
Let's not forget, this is the 2 years and 200 episodes celebration.
And what does that mean?
That means sponsored by our good friends at Joffrey's Coffee and Tea Company. We've got a grand prize winner to announce.
We do.
We do.
The randomizer was working feverishly.
The randomizer was going through all the social medias and picked out a lovely winner. The winner of the ResortLoop.com 2 years and 200 episodes celebration from the state of Utah. Heather Schmidt. Heather Schmidt, congratulations.
All right.
You're getting 2 pounds of Joffrey's coffee, 2 ResortLoop.com pins, a ResortLoop.com mug, and 2 one-day Walt Disney World Park hoppers from our good friends,
Outstanding.
Joffrey's Coffee and Tea. It is outstanding.
Congratulations. That is awesome. So
Heather, just send us your information, and we will get your prize package out to you.
yes, that's contest at ResortLoop.com. Make sure you email us that information. And thank you to everyone who participated in the 1 month worth of contest giveaways. Everything thanks to Joffrey's Coffee and Tea Company. We really appreciate our sponsors in providing those prizes.
But Bob, there's more.
Huh?
Our good friends.
There can't be more.
There is more. I got them on the phone, and they think that everybody should be a winner.
What?
I know. So there is a new ResortLoop.com discount code out there for everybody.
Woohoo!
The code is single word Looper.
Looper.
This will give you 20% off your entire order. And if you order $50 or more, you will get free shipping.
All right, I'm all over that.
I know. As well. So once again, the code is Looper.
Looper, not Looper 20, just
No,
Looper.
Looper, one word.
And they get 20% off.
20% off.
I should say I get 20% off because I'm going to be jumping all over that. You know I will. I love the fact that they had the 30th anniversary for 30% off. But, you know, we're
This is
Disney fans, and we like the Disney blends.
We do. Get a little artist point.
Absolutely. Oh, my favorite. My favorite. So, Tim.
Yes, Bob.
Is that all we got?
Is there more?
I believe there's more. First
What's
off,
that?
before we go any further, seeing it as this is our 200th episode, after 2 years of doing this, we would be remiss if we did not thank all of Looper Nation. For,
Everybody. Yes.
Yeah, just such a great 2 years, great 200 episodes, wonderful interaction with everybody. It has been truly, it has been our pleasure to do this show and meet all of you and interact with all of you, and we just want to keep that going.
Yes, and I want to share our latest project, Bob.
More?
There's one more thing. I felt it's time. Well, we felt it was time to expand the Resort Loop Club.
Yes.
The site is now going to start a blog with guest bloggers. I've been calling people using social media. They're coming together like the Avengers. These are our superheroes out there that have been strong fans of the show. We're going to start a blog.
All right.
I'll have more about that on the next show because honestly, I'm a little spent after this show.
Yeah, that was exhausting. Those guys are so cool. So cool. That was what a way to have a 200th episode.
Yes.
Getting some folks from Pixar Studios to talk with us. Who knew?
Oh, you knew.
But guys, keep on following us, keep on liking us on Facebook and all of that stuff. And really, if you like the show, do kind of like what Tim did to me. Go to your friends and say, hey, you're a Disney fan. You got to check out ResortLoop.com. Check those guys out. They're a lot of fun. It's interactive, and you'll like the show if you like the show.
Absolutely. It's things like that helped us get the guest we had today.
Absolutely. So, Tim, wrap us up. That's all I got.
I can't have anything else. You know where to find us. ResortLoop.com. I'm Tim Scott.
I'm Bob Collar.
See you, everybody. He couldn't even finish the show. Thanks for 200, everybody.
See you, everybody.
There it is.
Wow, the track looks perfect.
Now we just need guests.
Yeah, so they can race.
Hey! Cha-cha! Bellissimo! Guido, our tires are flying! Whoa.
Little tractors, dance! Here we go, tractors, whipping whirl.
They're here!
It is a time!
A whole new land opens June 15th. Cars Land at Disney California Adventure Park. Get ready to be floored.
Don't you just love that new park smell?